I try to understand Rosh Hashanah from Mekorot. And I'll tell you the first thing that's very strange about Rosh Hashanah. I'm going to phrase it as a joke, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. We know that Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world, the birthday of Adam HaRishon. Where do we see in the Tefillah on Rosh Hashanah that is the case? Hayam Harat Olam, right? So it's birthday. It's also, I think, somewhat clear from various Mekorot, at least in davening, that it's also a day of judgment. Where do we see in Tefillah that it's a day of judgment? What? Okay, Hinei Yom Hadin, Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin, right? We see that the Mishnah, if you take a look in source number 1, says that Barba Prakim Olam Nidon, right? There's 4 different times throughout the year that the world is judged. There's Pesach and there's Atzeret, which is Shavuos, and there, right? And on Rosh Hashanah, Kol Be'olam, Lefanav Kivnei Maron, right? So we see that there's a sense of judgment that takes place on Rosh Hashanah. Now, imagine the following scenario, right? Johnny has a birthday party. He just turned 7. And what does Johnny do? He invites all of his friends over to his birthday party. Mm-hmm. And what happens? Instead of pin the tail on the donkey, instead of other type of children games, the parents walk into this birthday party with all of Johnny's friends, wearing these black coats, and they say, okay, it's Johnny's birthday. We're going to judge him today at his birthday party. Like a judgment day. What else are you doing at birthday parties, right? That's pretty crazy. The kids are going to be scarred for life. We don't often associate judgment day with birthday. Right? We usually don't have the same. So the question is, what then is the level of the day supposed to be perceived as? What is this? What does Chazal really want us to understand from it? Now, I think last year, 2 years ago, which is a pretty famous topic, I spoke about, can you, Rosh Hashanah, do you fast, do you not fast? And there's no question, has this this duo nature to it. I think I dealt with that a couple years ago. But I want to specifically talk about, there's another Rosh Hashanah in Tanakh that I want to focus on today. Bit of a Tanakh shir. Where is the case that we know, that they got together on Rosh Hashanah? And where does that appear in Tanakh? Because it's on a piece of paper. It's not fair for you to give the piece of paper first, right? Let's take a look at let's take a look at Nehemiah, because Nehemiah is going to identify for us a Rosh Hashanah.
It's a very happy day.
Right? Okay, take a look at Nehemiah. So, in order to appreciate it, let's go to the end of chapter Perek Zayin in source 3. I'll do a quick context of Sefer Nehemiah just because it's worthwhile. So, the Jewish people are returning back to build the second Beit HaMikdash. It's the time period of Shivat Zion. It's decent, but definitely far from the visions of various Nevi'im. It's a bit of a struggle. There's a lot of resistance from the local population. Not a lot of people come back, kind of the schleppers, Sug Bet, the lower class people come back to rebuild. And it's not, definitely not the inspirational type of returning that I think perhaps people had first thought. So it's a struggle. There's no question it's a struggle. So it comes Nehemiah, and he says the following. This is the end of Perek Zayin, source 3. V'yeshu kohanim v'levim v'ashoarim v'amishorim min'am v'hanetinim v'chol Yisrael barehem v'yigah chodesh hashvi'i u'bnei Yisrael barehem. So this is the 7th month, right? Chodesh hashvi'i. We'll see the actual specific date in a second. The next Perek. V'yasfu kolam ki'ish echad. So they gather el harechov. So Rechov probably means some type of city square, right? Asher lifnei Shar Hamayim. So it's very, very, very detailed, right? Near the Shar Hamayim. Shar Hamayim is what's a Shar Hamayim? What's a Watergate? Watergate. No, it's not. Shar Hamayim is referring to some type of cistern of some sort, right? Some type of water storage center. Right? Which is gated, right? This way you didn't want every Joe Schmo to have access to it, because if every Joe had access to it, it's kind of like what happens like Orchai Mishmar, where like older people get a lot of food, no one gets anything, right? So you have to make sure like it gets kind of balanced out, right? So they call and they say, okay, Ezra is now told to bring this Sefer Torah. Ezra, go ahead. So the Tanakh is emphasizing how everyone is there, right? You noticed before it's Ish Echad, right? Kol Ha'am, Ish V'Adisha, V'chol Me'ivili Shema B'yom, Echad L'chodesh HaShvi. So here we see the exact date of Rosh HaShana. V'yikrav Lifnei HaRachav, so comes, so again, he's standing in this court. I guess he's on some type of, platform, shtender, dais. How do you pronounce it? Dais? Right? Asher V'nei Sharamayim, Agimin Ha'or, An Machatzitayam. So this is a very long Kriyat Torah. We thought we had long Kriyat Torah, yesterday in Shishi. Right? This Kriyat Torah is, I guess, from the morning until midday. Neged Anashim Anashim Hamivinim. V'oznei Kol Ha'am El Sefer Torah. So I guess you have some people understand it, some people don't understand what he's saying, but it doesn't matter. They just listen. Experience it. Here we go. So he literally stands and they built this like wooden platform for this event. Now look look at this detail. Who is flanking him on each side? Here are these names. Matithya, Shema, is that a Vav? Yeah. Va'aniya, Uriah, Chilkiah, Uma'aseya, Al Yamino. Mismalo, who's on his left, Vidaya, Mishael, Malkia, ve-chashum, ve-chashbadana, Zechariah, Mishulam. I see not many of these names have stuck in with the Jewish population today, with the exception of maybe Zechariah, Matitya, Uriah, or some form of Uriah. Yeah? Okay, anyways. Regardless, those were the people who were standing next to him on the other side. Yeah. I'm just saying, those we know to get married, you want to look for names. Here's a few options that definitely stand out if you're interested in being different. So here we go. So again, here's the image that we have here. We have a guy, Ezra. He's reading the Torah. People are on his right, people are on his left, and he's reading the Torah for a very extended period of time. Again, when's this happening? On Rosh HaShana. Excuse me. We've done Ezra Sofer. Sorry. V'zach Ezra HaSefer, Leinei Kol Ha'am, Ki Ma'al Kol Ha'am Haya, Uchfitcho Amdu Kol Ha'am. He's doing, right. So, the appears he's lifting it up so that everyone could actually see the text itself. Not she's, by the way, I guess, there's different types of learners. There's visual learners, there's auditory learners, so he's, he doesn't just want to speak to the people, he wants to show the people. Also, it's very powerful, it's like a visual effect, right?
I'm not so sure that he's showing them the text.
He's doing Hagbah, right? Do you actually see the text by Hagbah?
He's not even doing Hagbah. The bima is 5 meters high, so everyone sees him.
Right. Right. Okay. Again, I was joking, but right. Not everyone can see it. Again, the Tanakh is emphasizing the actual, Torah itself and its appearance. Okay. Amen. Amen. B'mo al yedehem. What's b'mo al yedehem? I'm not sure. What does that expression mean in Tanakh? B'mo al yedehem.
Spread their arms.
Well, their arms are out, up. Vayigdu vayishtachvu l'Hashem apayim arzu. Maybe this, I don't know. This the beginning of prostration, maybe stretching. Yeah. Anyway, it definitely some type of religious posture of some sort. I think is there, right? Emotional response. Ve'yeshua uvania ve'sheravia yamin akuv shibtai hodia ma'asakilita mivinim halvi'im mivinim et ha'am laTorah. So va'am alamdam. So again, the nation is studying. Ve'gru b'sefer Torah lokim miforash. So I think, and I meant to check this before and I didn't, I think this means that not only was it clear, but some people actually, it was translated. Because it could be they didn't all understand the Hebrew, they needed to translate it into the local language. Oh, that's what it meant. They explained what exactly was going on. So we see from it that people were a little bit illiterate, meaning, at least from a Hebrew perspective, they were literate. Next, they probably actually, yeah. And by the way, it could be, again, this is not, we can't see it from here, but the context is, it could be these people never heard the Torah before. These people, many of them were very illiterate. They weren't educated. It could be they never experienced it. They never read the Torah firsthand. Right? Who Tirshata ve'Ezra Kohen Asaf Avim Mevinim Etam v'Chol Ha'am Hayom Kadoshu LaHashem Elokechem. Today's a holy day. Al Titablu v'Al Tivku. Don't mourn and don't cry. So what do we see from here? Ki bochim kol ha'am v'shema b'divrei Torah. Wow. Imagine this, by the way. I'll tell you what this is. I do not just highlight. Imagine, it's like after Yom Kippur, and 3 rabbis are getting together to talk about the high holidays in their synagogue. One rabbi's like, I gave a drasha. It got like a standing ovation. It was so good. People was like, I blew it away. Second guy's like, it's nothing. I gave a drasha. I had people coming over to me. I got text messages after Yontif. I got a raise in my salary. The third guy's like, the whole crowd was bawling. I was so emotional. I was so powerful in my drasha. The 800 congregants were crying. I blew them away with my words. Right? That's how powerful I was. So this is what happened. Imagine this drasha. So they said to me, wow, you got everyone to cry? Do me a favor. Tell us, what'd you say? He said, I had zero creativity. I didn't tell a joke. I didn't tell a story. Nothing. I just read from the Torah. They're like, are you kidding me? You read from the Torah and that causes everyone to cry? How'd you do that? Like, what's going on here? So, here's my question, guys. Why do you think that people cried when they heard the words of the Torah?
Probably out of emotion for them.
What do you mean?
Again, if this is their first experience or something that's not happening often, there's like this massive gathering of people, and they're all being read the Torah. It's like a major event. It's very emotional for some people, I would assume.
So what you say is very emotional. Why is it eliciting tears? And what type of tears? Are they tears of joy? No, because what does he say here? So you're right. Could have been tears of joy. It's not tears of joy. This is tears of Avelis. Right? Because he's going to say, don't do this.
You could read it either way. You could read it both, or that they're the same thing.
No, you have to read it the same thing.
So
maybe he was reading the part of the Torah that says, if you, I will kick you out of the land if you.
Okay, so I believe, very good. He read Sefer Devarim. So which was Ki Tuli Banim V'nei Banim the Kriyat Torah for Tisha B'Av, right? Okay, good. Maybe you read that yesterday, right? The bracha and the klalot. What happens if you don't follow the ways of Hashem? Very good. So essentially, if we say it's Sefer Devarim and it's Muslim, I'm not sure he read about Avraham. Maybe he did. I maybe read Avraham. They so never heard about Avraham. It was so emotional for them. But if you want to talk about what made them cry, it basically says, Vayam Shema Tusha Mitzvotai, and if not, you're toast. And these were people who didn't keep the Torah. They were so removed from God, from Judaism, that when they heard about the mitzvot, they were just, we're nothing. We didn't know anything. We're Amaratzim, we're terrible, we're going to hell, we're going to who knows what. Right? So what does he say when there's a response? Listen to this. Imagine the rabbi getting up on Rosh HaShana and saying, guys, stop crying after my drasha. What should you do instead? Look at Yud. Guys, stop crying. Go home and party. Go home and have a 6-course meal. It's like Purim. Give mishloach manot. Go give presents, do like a present exchange. Le'ein nachon lo. Why? Ki kadosh hayom ladonenu. We say the during davening?
Yes, we do.
Ki kadosh hayom ladonenu melitz yosher mugid pasha. Look at that. But we don't say the first part. Interesting. We use these words, 4 words from Nehemiah. We don't read the first line. A little bit selective in their davening. Anyways, Va'al te'atzivu. Why? Ki chedvat Hashem hi mozchem. What's chedva? What's chedva mean? What's chedva? Something is a synonym, right? For love, for joy. He ma'uzchem. What's ma'uz? Uz, root word of ma'uz is uz, strength. Stronghold, right? You're strengthened by. Wow. And again, it's repeated. They had to convince the people. The people weren't convinced. They had to go around and say, Hasukya Yom Kadosh, va'al te'atzevu. Who knocking?
Sounded like it.
Vayelchu kol ha'am le'achov ve'lishtot u'shalech manot ve'lasot simcha gedola. If I were to read you this pasuk, and I were to tell you, and you're not you guys, right? I would take this pasuk, and I'd like plaster it somewhere and say, identify the holiday. I would bet you $1 million that 99% of the population on this pasuk would tell me that the day is Purim. If I just had that pasuk, right? This is the pasuk. And all the nation went to eat and drink and to exchange gifts and to make a simcha. What day is this on the Jewish calendar? I don't know if the Greek Chidon Tanakh question, right? Right? Everyone would tell me what day is this? Oh, it's Purim. It's not Rosh HaShana. Wow. Ki hevinu badvarim asher hudiu lahem. So Rashi says, why were they crying? They were keeping the mitzvahs. What is Nehemiah's response? And how does this jive with Hinei Yom Adin? What are your thoughts? How are we supposed to make sense of this? It appears to be completely contradictory. Morning. Anybody want to take a stab? Help us out? From Nehemiah, how are we supposed to understand Rosh Hashanah from Nehemiah? Thank you for eating. Anybody? Mr. Kelman? What do you think? You're Tanakh guy. You ever seen these psukim before?
Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah, how do you make sense of it? Is this like your Rosh Hashanah at home? Your name is Ezra. You have to respond more than anybody, maybe.
Well, the Torah itself doesn't really give much information on Rosh Hashanah, so anything that we think about Rosh Hashanah came from Chazal, which is after Nehemiah.
Okay.
So that's how they celebrated Rosh Hashanah in the times of the Tanakh.
And then later on, it turned depressing after the rabbis made it.
They ruined everything.
They ruined everything. So I think I need to appreciate, what is Ezra doing here? Ezra was not just doing something because he wanted to cause some type of, ruckus of some sort. I think what Ezra had a very clear intent. And not only did he have intent, but I think he was reenacting something which was much earlier in the Torah.
Hakel?
So I think it's Hakel. And what is Hakel really about? What's Hakel? I think you're right. But what's Hakel? I shouldn't say why. I don't really know the answer to this. But I think Hakel is really a mini what? Or a...
Sinai?
Very good. Hakel is a reenactment of Har Sinai. Let's take a look at Har Sinai. Flip the page. It's clear. Where's the first shofar in the Torah? I should have actually... Where do we see the idea of shofar? The first shofar in the Torah is... We hear the concept of shofar. Nah, the Keda, Ayu, what?
Har Sinai.
It's Har Sinai, right? So, when we understand, we want to appreciate Har Sinai, shofar, Rosh Hashanah, we have to understand the purpose of Har Sinai. Because I think Rosh Hashanah is really all about remembering Har Sinai, but not necessarily the Sort Dibra component, the preamble, Sort Dibra. Sort Dibra play a very vital role. But it's the preamble to that I think is what's going on here. And that is, look at 8. There's a sense of, also, this fear. Now, if there's an Anan Kaved al-Har, what does the mountain look like? Can you see the mountain when there's Anan Kaved?
Not really.
That's exactly what Moshe says in 9. Hakel li ta'am. Vashmi emed dvarai. You'll hear what I have to say. Asher yilmedu li yir'auti kol yamin. Hashem chayim al adama ved b'nehem yilamedu. To teach their kids, by the way, which is exactly Hakel, which I should have brought the psukim to. But tikrum v'tem utachet ahar v'ahar b'er ba'esh adev hashamayim chashach anan rafel. V'edaber Hashem aleichem mitoch ha'esh kol dvim atem shomim utmuna einechem rim zulatiko. What was the only one of the 5 senses that was properly used at Har Sinai? They couldn't see anything. Why? Because it's chashach anan rafel. The only sense they could use was the sense of hearing. And it's called shofar, chazak mode. And what they hear at Har Sinai? They heard it called Hashem. Now, if you go back to Nehemiah, where do you see in the psukim of Nehemiah anything that reminds you of Har Sinai? Where do you see in Nehemiah words that are like Har Sinai by Matan Torah? So, first of all, Vayitzu kol ha'am ki ish echad. Very interesting. What did Chazal say? V'yichan sham yisrael keneged ahar ki ish echad b'lev echad. I believe Chazal got it from here. I don't have a proof, but to me it makes sense. Right? Now, you don't have Moshe Rabbeinu, because this is many years later. You have Ezra. He builds a platform, right? By the way, Shar Hamayim, we know that Har Sinai also functions as a water source. That's Parshat B'Shalach. Right? Parshat B'Shalach, Moshe, the first water round number 1 is Har Sinai.
You have Bo'oznei kol ha'am.
Ah, very good. So what does it do? And first of all, they identified it as Sefer Torah to Moshe. Okay. Ish v'ad isha. Okay, so again, we have this idea of every Mevi lishmoa, it's about listening. Va'oznei kol ha'am. Very good. Again, the Znei kol ha'am. Now, let's see. He builds this Migdal 8, it's kind of like a mountain. Now, look who's next to him. Go through these names again for a second. Matitya. Anyone know what Matitya? Anyone know what did Chazal say? Umi matana nachliel. What did Chazal say in the word what did Chazal say on that pasuk? Anyone know? Matanahi Sefer Torah. Right? What is the gift that God gave us? Was the Torah. Shema. What's Shema? Listening. Aniya. Raising of the voice. So by the way, what did Bnei Israel say in Perek Yud Tet? They said, Kol Asher, whatever Hashem says, we will Naaseh. And Naaseh was later. So, Uriah is or, right? This light. Chilkiah is again, it's a chilek probably. Again, Maaseyah is the Asiyah, Naaseh, right? They will do. Then you have Pidaya, which is a idea, I think, comes from the word to redemptive. This is a redemptive from the word like Podeh, right? So Mishael, what does Mishael mean? Again, they have asking from the word She'elah. Umalkiah, they have Melach. This ultimately, by the way, which is connected obviously to Malchuyot. That's exactly why specifically Malchuyot are connected to Malchut Hashem, right? By Har Sinai. Chashum. Chush, like a sense. Okay. Chash ben Daya, I have no idea what that is. Zechariah is again, by the way, here we see Zichronos. That's clear. And then Meshulam, Mishaleh. So again, these words are definitely, connected to, I think, the idea of Har Sinai. And there's also this responding, Vanu Kolam. Bnei Yisrael also responded. Okay? And Vaikru b'sever Torah Elokim miforash. Again, this idea of reading the Torah in front of everybody, and everyone needed to understand it. That's clearly how Chazal said also by Har Sinai. Everyone understood, even every Joe Schmo understood what was going on. Also at Har Sinai. And by the way, after Har Sinai, they also ate and they drank afterwards. Right? They celebrated. They offered korban. They ate and they drank. So I really do think there's this. This is my idea. I heard this was that really what Ezra is doing is reenacting Mamad Har Sinai for this generation that never physically experienced Har Sinai, and he wanted to have this emotional almost experience to assist them and to inspire them at this point in time. So, if that's true, go to Surah 7, please. When we call in the Torah, we refer to Rosh HaShana as Yom Zichron Trua. It's all about the Trua. It's all about the shofar, right? It's all about the shofar. It's the main player, the main purpose. It's all about the shofar. And in fact, even in our own davening, we reference Har Sinai. When we bring shofaros, what do we say? Atani gleita b'nan kvodecha alam k'doshecha l'deber imam. Min hashamayim yishmata kulecha v'nigleita lehem bar plei tohar. Gam kol olam kulocha lipanecha u'briyot bereshit chartu mimekach. V'aglotcha malkeinu al Har Sinai l'lamed l'amcha Torah mitzvot. ותשמיעם את הוד קולך ודיברות קודשך מלבות אש. וכל דברקים עליהם נגלית, וכל שופר להם הופעת. As it says, etc., etc. So again, the Chazal and the Nusach HaTefillah, it's clear that they're emphasizing the idea of shofarot at Har Sinai. Right? Now, if you flip the page back, the Malchiyot, Zirchonot, and Shofarot, the three different components of the Musaf, the shofar is the function, how to accomplish our goal. That's what the Gemara says. Amar Rav, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amul Fanai, Sir Rosh HaShana. Malchiyot, Zirchonot, Shofarot. Why? Malchiyot, K'li shetamlichuni aleichem. So what point in time did God become our king? That's at Har Sinai. But what's the feeling if God is a king? That's a feeling of tremendous distance. If God's a king, I'm a nobody, right? How close are you to the prime minister? Even the Orthodox Jews aren't, most Jews don't even know the prime minister so much, right? Some pretend they do, they think they might. He has no idea who they are, right? So, but that's the idea of a king, it's the sense of distance. Zichronot, kedei shiavo lifanai zichronachechem letova. So this, by the way, is the opposite. And then, what's zichronot? Zichron are, no, sense of closeness. When you recall, when you remember somebody, Haben Yarkel Yafraim, right? I recall a person. Vashem Pakad Etzara, Pakad is also a shon of Zechira. That's the sense of closeness to it. Now, how do you accomplish those things? So we see that shofar is the tool in the instrument, because shofar is not the goal. Shofar is the instrument, literally. Shofar is the instrument to accomplish Malchiyot and Zechirah. And I think what is Nehemiah and Zechariah, what are they trying to accomplish? Exactly what took place at Har Sinai. It's almost this paradox. At Har Sinai, what does God say? We enter into this covenant. It's a two-way street. You become Melech HaKohanim, the Goy Kadosh, right? By the way, Yom Kadosh, this is Goy Kadosh. And when Bnei Yisrael agree, V'nu kol ha'am yachtav v'yimru kol asher dibar Hashem na'aseh, the response is this: God will come, this Avanan. And eventually he will speak to the people. I think what is happening on Rosh Hashanah is you actually have a similar balance what happened at Har Sinai, right? You have this sense of Bnei Yisrael freaked out afterwards. I couldn't handle it. On one hand, they entered into a relationship, into a covenant, right? So I think when a person considers what is Rosh Hashanah, it's very similar to the Har Sinai. It's also this dual nature. This nature of awe and power and fear, and God is king, and I'm so small, and I'm a distant, and I'm a nothing, what does it matter, who cares, it's irrelevant. But then there's a second component called but if you just have that feeling, that's not Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not just about Malchiyot. You need to have Zichron to balance the Malchiyot. And I think, what did Ezra and Nehemiah need to do at that time? They needed to tell the people, yes, we're going to do Ma'at Har Sinai. But I want to tell you something very important. The fact that you have Malchiyot coupled with Zichronot means you go home and you eat and drink and you celebrate. It's a celebration. It's not a dread. It's not a wailing. It's not a veiling. By the way, and again, this was why I spoke of this a couple years ago. We hold the halacha that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, for that matter, are treated from a halachic perspective like the Shlosh Regalim. Meaning, if God forbid a person is sitting Shiva, what happens if it's all of a sudden Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Pesach? It's Mevatel. Right? Why? Because public simcha trumps private avelut. Practical, right? So we see that Chazal see Rosh Hashanah halachically. Rosh Hashanah is Yantiv. Now it's very complicated. Can you fast Rosh Hashanah? Not fast Rosh Hashanah? It's a whole right. Achal we do not fast Rosh Hashanah. That's the practical nafkamina. We don't fast Rosh Hashanah. We have to eat, which is why the Sichar 4 days before. If you want to fast for 10 days, but that's all. We don't fast Rosh Hashanah, right? Again, why? You'd think that if it was just about Judgment Day, oh my God, if there was a judge, I'd be frightened. I once went to court. Don't get so excited. There's a speeding ticket. I was driving to U of T. I was actually giving 2 students a lift. It was a few years ago. Adam Zarek. Okay, so I'm older than you guys. I was on the phone. I didn't even know who I was talking to. It was about the Jewish community. So how could I get a ticket, right? I was driving down Bathurst. It was by St. Clair. Cop pulled me over, filed the ticket, and I went to court to fight it. And it's scary. You're scared. In the end, the whole thing was a joke, but that's for another time. But if you ever get a ticket, just go fight it. It's like you're always reduced. And this and that. It's just a pain, but it's worth it. So, but you're scared. The judge walked in. I actually thought he wasn't the judge, but that's another story. But in a sense, you go to court. If your heart's beating, imagine. I'm not a lawyer. I don't find myself in court too often, and hopefully I'm not involved in my criminal activities that also have me go to court too often. But there's a sense of awe and a sense of pachad, and you're nervous and you're scared for sure. But there's also the sense, but that's not Rosh Hashanah has a little bit of that component. But the major component, I think this is what Ezra and Nehemiah want to teach the people. Ezra and Nehemiah want to teach the people, yes, it's true, it's scary when you don't follow the mitzvah, for sure. But because there's this idea of God, yes, it's true, God is our king, but there's the idea of zichronot, and there's kol shofar chazak ma'od. There's something about the sound of the shofar that's supposed to instill in the people a sense of comfort, believe it or not. And I think on Rosh Hashanah, so it's true that I think Chazal took Rosh Hashanah and they struggled with this dual nature of Rosh Hashanah. On one hand, the Yom Hadin. On one hand, they hear the words of Zechariah, the words of Nehemiah, and that's exactly, I think, what's happening throughout the Tefillat of Rosh Hashanah. And that's why it's Avinu, it's Malkeinu, right? You have the father, a father figure, hopefully isn't so scary, right? It's loving, right? We say that the father never wants practical halachic ramifications to it. A father always loves their children. Regularly, ever learn Ababa Machteret, right? So if the father's coming to attack the kid in the middle of the night, you're never allowed to kill your father. The father's never coming to actually kill you. Vice versa, that might be the case. So that'd be okay to defend yourself. But there's also Avinu Malkeinu. And I think this really is the inherent tension that exists on Rosh Hashanah. And I think what Nehemiah is trying to drive home and trying to teach the people is that you got to understand. Rosh Hashanah is a day that we have to understand it's about celebration. And what are we celebrating? We're celebrating, what's this idea? Ki kadosh hayom laHashem, ki chedvat Hashem hi ma'oschem. That it's this notion, the fact that God, He created the world, and He sustains the world, and He loves the entire world, and that is to some extent a major celebration. We are coronating the King, right? We're saying Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach. We're really, really re-anointing God. We're recognizing that God is really the master of the world. And I think that is exactly what Nehemiah is saying, and that's what we're celebrating. That is worth going home, and that is worth making a l'chaim, and that is why we dress nicely. It's a yontif, right? There's a day of kavod on... by the way, same with Yom Kippur too. Exactly how it's fulfilled. That's why you have to dress nicely on Yom Kippur, because you have to fulfill kavod Yom Kippurim. You just can't use food. So, and I think that is the message that Nehemiah wanted to instill, and I think that is specifically the idea of what Rosh Hashanah is today. It's this the day of beauty, 2 days of beauty, and I think if we can properly understand the message of Rosh Hashanah, then we can go home, and we can eat, and we can drink, and we can really rejoice and celebrating that God is our King, and hopefully that will give us a sense of meaning and purpose, and will usher us into a year of joy, because we don't always listen. The first time we didn't listen was, of course, in Gan Eden. and that cause us to be exiled. But it's through specifically the functioning of listening that listening, that's why the shofar, listening, by the way, you ever read Rabbi Sachs about listening? Rabbi Sachs talks about a lot. The difference between, in Judaism, it's all about listening as opposed to visual, right? It's not about the physical experience, that's very Greco-Roman, but it's about listening. Right? Listening is a tremendous art. And that's why, specifically in Rosh HaShana, we hone in our listening skills, right, with the shofar, because we failed to listen to Kol Hashem and the Gan. That's why we have to listen to the voice of God at Har Sinai and with the shofar.